The capabilities of our ancient ancestors frequently blow our minds. In almost every way, they were more capable, accomplished, and aware of their place in their world than we often give them credit for. We can get a sense of how incredible they were in the things they left behind for us to find years later. You're about to see a fine selection of those incredible finds in this video. We start off in England, where the Anchor Church caves in Derbyshire have been a puzzle to archaeologists for generations. It's obvious someone carved the rocks here and made themselves a home. But the question of who has always been a mystery, until a new theory emerged in July 2021. It's now been suggested that the cave was the secret hideout of an Anglo-Saxon king living in exile during the 9th century. That's quite a radical departure from the most commonly accepted previous theory, which was that the cave was an 18th century folly. If the 9th century theory is correct, the cave would be the oldest complete domestic interior in the whole country. It still has its floors, roof, windows, and even a couple of internal doors. Comparisons have been drawn between the style of the architecture here and the Anglo-Saxon crypt in nearby Repton. As for the Anglo-Saxon king, that would be King Eardwulf of Northumbria, who's recorded as being deposed in the year 806 and is known to have then lived in exile before dying and being buried at Bredon on the Hill in 830. That's just 5 miles from here, so the dates and the stories match up. While Viking grave discoveries are reasonably common in Norway, Viking textile discoveries are rare. Fabrics have usually rotted away by the time modern archaeologists discover the graves, so our knowledge of Viking fashion is a little lacking. Finds like this one help. It's an embroidered wool fabric found in the 1,000-year-old tomb of a woman in Hesnes, Norway, in June 2020. The only other confirmed Viking-era fabrics ever to be discovered have all come from Denmark, so this is a big deal for Norwegian archaeologists. Making clothes wasn't easy in the 9th century, so when someone passed away, their garments were usually passed on to family members or other people in the community. The fact that this woman was buried with her clothes and also with a distinctive 3-lobed turtle brooch and a collection of pearls suggests that she held high status. Her clothes are likely to have been left with her because nobody else was deemed to be fit to wear them. The Danish Viking fabric discoveries we mentioned have all come from the graves of wealthy individuals, so there's no reason to believe that this person was any different. It's taken years to unlock the secrets of the Nochetovaska votiva, but in June 2021, archaeologists finally cracked the case. This unusual underground monument was discovered in Italy's Po Valley in 2005. It was identified as either a wooden water tank or perhaps a communal bath, but that's all the archaeologists of the time could come up with. It took a recent radiocarbon dating breakthrough to reveal more clues, including the fact that the structure is 3,400 years old. A further examination of the ground with non-invasive scanning techniques has also revealed the presence of a virtually identical structure buried directly beneath the Nochetovaska votiva. That isn't the only thing that's buried here. The scans and subsequent digs have uncovered a significant number of ceramics and figurines, all of which were buried on purpose. Based on all of these things, it now seems highly likely that there was once a water cult at this site, and that the bath or tank was at the center of their ritual activity. Given that they built themselves a new structure right on top of the old one, it's possible that they first arrived here even longer ago than 3,400 years. Our next discovery isn't strictly an archaeological one. It's closer to paleontology, but we hope you'll excuse us for including it because it's very exciting news for anyone who's a fan of the Jurassic World movies. In April 2017, scientists confirmed the discovery of a cluster of dinosaur eggs in Aucamahuevo, Nueca, Argentina. Inside the 70-million-year-old eggs, they found dinosaur embryos. The partially developed embryos are developed enough to have teeth and skin. Specimens like these almost never survive for such a long time, but scientists got lucky with these eggs because the area they were found in used to be a swamp and was then buried under volcanic deposits for millions of years. It was the eventual collapse of the volcanic layers that revealed the presence of the eggs. Finding dinosaur embryos doesn't necessarily mean we can immediately turn the plot of Jurassic World into a reality. It will take years of more research before we get to that stage. But having seen the films, perhaps that isn't such a good idea anyway. If you're trying to give a ballroom, a restaurant, or even a room inside your home an opulent feel, you'll need a chandelier to achieve the effect. That's as true in the modern era as it seems to have been 2,000 years ago, when this Roman chandelier hung inside a grand villa in Spain's Elda Valley. The priceless artifact was discovered in August 2021 and is said by archaeologists to be the only complete Roman chandelier ever found. Obviously, it wouldn't have held light bulbs, but the spaces around its perimeter would have been filled with candles or perhaps oil lamps. After putting the shattered pieces of the chandelier back together, experts noticed that the name Lucius Eros was engraved into its side. The same name has been noted on several other artifacts that have come from the villa. Nobody can be sure whether Lucius was the person who owned the villa or whether he was the person who made the objects. If it's the latter, then this is one of the earliest examples of product branding we've ever seen. The banks of Lake Onega in Karelia, Russia, are an archaeologist's paradise. There are burials from every age in human history along the banks, but none quite like the Copper Age burial that was found here in August 2021 by a team from Petrozavodsk State University. There isn't much left of the person who was laid to rest 5,400 years ago inside the grave, but the artifacts they were buried with are still there. Those artifacts include exceptionally rare examples of amber jewelry, including buttons that are thought to have once been attached to a leather coat. Amber objects of this kind from this era have only ever been seen before in the Eastern Baltic, so this person might have been a long way from home when they passed away. It could be the case that they were born in the Eastern Baltic states, but came here to trade, although that can't be proven. Their grave was lined with red ochre, which is another sign of respect and status. Our ancient ancestors used to use a lot of red ochre when burying the dead, including painting their bones on occasion. Nobody knows why. August 2021 was also a good month for archaeologists in France, as it's the month they came across the unlikely pairing of two unrelated deposits of ritual hordes from the Bronze Age in Allier. The experienced French archaeologist Pierre-Yves Milsan has gone as far as saying that the finds are unique in the history of European archaeology. In both cases, the contents of the hordes were carefully thought about and then arranged in a specific order. Jewelry is at the top, weapons including axe blades are at the bottom, and the middle layers include chariot parts, belts, harnesses, and sickles. Each grouping is separated by a layer of polished pebbles of similar colors. There's clearly importance to the order, but we don't have enough information about these ancient people to even guess what the importance might have been. It obviously meant a lot to the people who arranged and then buried the hordes some 2,800 years ago. The fact that the burials were left a few years apart might mean that they came from different people, although Milsan is positive that there was a settlement here for a few centuries, beginning about 3,000 years ago. We've already seen one stunning discovery from a Roman villa in Spain in this video, but it never hurts to add another to the mix. This time, the villa is in the town of Mula in Murcia, but the artifact that's got archaeologists so excited isn't Roman. They think that after the Roman era ended, the villa became a necropolis, which is how this stunning Visigoth sarcophagus got there. It's hand-carved and is unlike anything that's been found in this part of Spain before. The fact that it's Visigothic, coupled with the styling of the inscriptions on its surface, led archaeologists to believe that it's a 6th century burial. Even by that time, it seems there were still lingering social influences from the area's Roman history. There's a Chi symbol engraved on the sarcophagus in the position where the head of the person inside it would be. The symbol is both Christian and Roman. It represents life's victory over death, and was introduced to Roman imperial insignia by Emperor Constantine. Its presence here might mean that the person inside the sarcophagus has military connections, but there's no way of knowing that for sure. In many ways, the point of archaeology is to bring the past to life. Here's a new facility in Pompeii that makes that process literal. It's an ancient fast food counter called a Thermopolium, and in December 2020, it reopened to the public for the first time since the day Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried the city in the year 79. The Thermopolium, complete with its beautiful frescoes, can be thought of as the ancient Roman equivalent of a fast food restaurant. The vendor who owned or worked in it would cook food at home and then bring it here to be reheated and sold to order, often accompanied by red wine. If we accept that the paintings on the exterior walls of the structure reflect the items on the menu, then we can say that the Thermopolium sold mostly chicken and duck. Some sealed jars were found inside the Thermopolium when it was discovered in 2019, though, and analysis of the contents revealed traces of snails, fish, pork, and beef. Whoever owned this stall must have believed in the idea of having something for everyone. The modern day won't be quite so eclectic and will also have to adhere to modern health and safety standards, but it's as close to eating an old Pompeii as anyone's ever going to get. Thonis Heraklion ranks as one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time, but exploring and excavating the ancient Egyptian city is an arduous task because the whole thing is underwater, and has been for about 2,200 years. Still though, marine archaeologists persist with the task, and in July 2021, they confirmed the discovery of what's thought to be an ancient military vessel. It's more than 80 feet long, and is currently wedged diagonally in the canal, which once ran along the south side of the Temple of Amun. It even still contains its cargo, which is a pile of heavy stones that probably either came from the temple or were being delivered to the temple at the time the vessel met with disaster. That disaster was almost certainly the same one that doomed the whole city. Archaeologists think that it was either a colossal earthquake or a colossal landslide, or perhaps even a landslide caused by an earthquake. The origin point of the vessel is unclear. It's built with a classical-style Greek hull, but it's made of Egyptian wood. It might have been moored at the time of the disaster, but broke free of its moorings and then blocked the canal, trapping anyone and anything stuck behind it. The concept of a bath buddy is difficult to explain to anyone who's never had one, but many of you will have understood what a bath buddy is just by hearing the words. In practice, it's a container for bubble bath, shampoo, or bath salts, and it's usually shaped like a human or animal. Most of the time, the intention of using a bath buddy is to make children more agreeable to getting in the bath. It seems that humans have been using that particular trick for a very long time. Here's a bath buddy from the 3rd century. It was found in the southeast of Bulgaria in February 2020 and is made of copper alloy. Identifying it as a bath buddy wasn't easy, but an examination of its contents has revealed traces of oils, balms, and other skin-cleansing agents that were popular at that time. The vessel would have been called a balsamarium by the people of the region. As if the human head shape of the balsamarium wasn't scary enough, its hair is covered in leopard spots. Perhaps that was considered charming at the time, but something tells us that this design wouldn't have been popular with children. It's only in recent years that archaeologists have woken up to the gold mine that awaits them on the Scottish Orkney Islands. They're in a remote location, but there are signs that settlements have existed here since the Neolithic era. It's not without reason that academics and researchers have begun to refer to the islands as the Egypt of the North. This discovery doesn't quite go back as far as the Neolithic era, but it's still impressive. It's a Norse hall that was discovered at Skyle Farmstead on the island of Rousay in August 2019. The hall is thought to date back to the 11th century, and is further evidence of how comfortable the Vikings became when they settled here. Even the word skull was long thought to have come from the presence of a Norse drinking hall, but the connection has never been proven until now. The Viking Orkneyinga saga tells us that a powerful leader called Sigurd lived somewhere in the Westness region of Rousay. This hall is in Westness, so who's to say it didn't belong to the mighty leader himself? If he did, he'd probably have enjoyed many flagons of Viking ale sat on the stone benches that the archaeologists have finally uncovered. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!